Questions from Quarantine.
Welcome back to Questions from Quarantine. This week I was asked a question that I think is helpful, and it kind of piggybacks on what we talked about last week. The question was, how do I respond to the increasing anger around me? There are a bunch of folks who have been dealing with this. Some that I talked to are actually working through the fact that the people around them have been angry about being stuck in quarantine. They're not able to get out of their homes. Some people have been bothered by the way that the government is planning. They have small business issues, or they have concerns about their livelihood. Some people are just talking with Christian friends, and as they're interacting with them about their opinions about what we should be doing, whether or not we should rise up. We talked about that last week, whether or not they should engage with the culture in a different way. Each one of them are dealing with, each one of those folks that had entered into those conversations with me, were struggling with what they should say. And rather than dealing with specific wording, I just wanted to remind us of this statement in Colossians chapter 4. It says, "Devote yourselves to prayer," this is 4 verse 2, "and stay alert in it with thanksgiving. At the same time, pray for us that God may open a door to us for the message to speak the mystery of the Messiah, for which I am in prison, so that I may reveal it as I am required to speak. Act wisely toward outsiders. Make the most of the time, for your speech should always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you should answer each person." Just 3 thoughts. When it says that we should act wisely toward outsiders, making the most of the time, and that your speech should always be gracious, seasoned with salt. The first thought that comes to me is that when we are dealing with people, especially in the culture that we're trying to win, or if we're trying to engage people who don't think like us, the first thing I would have us remember is there's a way of speaking that is of engaging the culture that is actually called being Irenic. That has the idea that you and I begin to engage with people and speak to them in such a way that we want to be peaceable and we want to unite with them. We are a shock jock culture right now. Increasingly, we try to win the day with anger or with harsh words, or to beat somebody over the head with our position. Somebody who is Irenic not only knows their position, but in a very peaceful way, they speak to an individual and they reveal that they actually know the other person's position. The question I would have for you when you enter into a discussion with somebody is, can you actually state the other person's opinion in such a way that they would say, oh yes, that is what I believe? Or do you build up straw man arguments or ridiculous statements and put it in their mouth and then conquer those? There's nothing that will anger somebody else or further the anger like speaking something that is not true of another individual. We need to be Irenic. We need to be peaceable. We need to have discussions where when we disagree with other people, we understand their true heart. We don't assume their ignorance, and we are looking to find a path towards peace with them. But a second thing I would have you understand is that we need to have savory speech. So often now we've become belligerent, or we've tried to say something with kind of an edge to it, so that we get our point in there, and we make our point in a painful way that belittles the other individual, or we highlight the fact that they were wrong if there's an area where that can be brought up. We need to be very careful about how we do that. We want to make sure that the individuals we're speaking to feel like it says here, seasoned with salt, that we are doing the very best to cause our thoughts and opinions to go down well. We want to say things kindly. Irenic, savory, but finally it says gospel-driven. He says, devote yourself to prayer. Stay alert in it with thanksgiving. At the same time, also for us, that God may open a door for the message to speak the mystery of the Messiah, for which I'm in prison. So he says, be in prayer, deal with thanksgiving, or give thanks, even though I am in prison. Imagine this. I want you to be prayerful, but I don't want you to be angry. I don't want you to be irritated that I have lost my freedoms. How does that fit today? I've lost my freedoms, but he doesn't say, I want you to come and tell them all the reasons why this is unreasonable. I don't want you to work with the government in this way or that way. He says, pray that God may open a door for me for the message of the mystery of Christ, so that I may reveal it as I'm required to speak. He says, let's do whatever we can to make sure the gospel is preeminent. Remember, when you are speaking to people, you are revealing what your gospel is. What is your good news? Is your good news that you have freedom? Is your good news that you have pushed back against the encroachment of the government? Is your good news that you've been able to speak to unreasonable people and put them in their place? In other words, you have control or you have intelligence? Or is your good news that Jesus Christ died for all of our brokenness? And that no matter how bad the mess is that we're in, or no matter how bad the mess is that others have made, Jesus Christ has conquered, and through him there is forgiveness of sins and a true freedom. We need to make sure that the gospel is the center. How are we to speak? How are we to deal with those that are angry around us? We need to be Irenic. We need to be able to see things from their perspective. We need to say things kindly so they go down well, and we need to be focused on the gospel. God bless you as you apply these things.